On a cold September morning in 1066, England woke to the thunder of a war that would end an age. The men marching south were not just invaders, they were Vikings, led by a man many believed was unstoppable. His name was King Harold Hardrada of Norway, and by sunset his defeat at the Battle of Stamford Bridge would mark the violent end of the Viking Age. Harald Sigurdsson, later known as Harald Hardrada, Hard Ruler, was born around 1015 into Norwegian royalty. His life read like a saga long before Stamford Bridge. At just 15 years old, Harald fought at the Battle of Stiklestad, 1030, alongside his half-brother, King Olaf II of Norway. Olaf was killed and Harald was badly wounded, forced into exile. But exile did not break him, it forged him. Harald fled east, eventually becoming a commander in the Byzantine Empire's elite Varangian Guard. There he fought across Sicily, the Middle East and the Mediterranean, amassing immense wealth, battlefield experience and a reputation for ruthless brilliance. Few kings in Europe could match his military resume. By 1046, Harald returned to Norway, claimed the throne and ruled with iron authority. To many he was the last great Viking king, ambitious, feared and hungry for glory. In 1066, England was unstable. King Edward the Confessor had died without an heir. 3 men now claimed the English crown. Harold Godwinson, crowned King of England. William of Normandy, preparing an invasion from France. Harald Hardrada, claiming England based on an old Viking treaty. Hardrada saw England as his final and greatest conquest. With around 300 longships and 10,000 seasoned warriors, Harold invaded northern England, joined by Tostig Godwinson, the exiled brother of King Harold of England. On September 20, 1066, Hardrada crushed English forces at the Battle of Fulford, near York. Victory seemed certain. England appeared helpless. But fate was already turning. Believing the war nearly won, Hardrada left much of his armor behind as his army marched to Stamford Bridge, expecting hostages, not battle. They were wrong. King Harold Godwinson had force-marched his army over 185 miles in just 4 days, catching the Vikings completely by surprise. What followed was one of the most brutal battles in English history. According to legend, a single Viking warrior held the narrow bridge alone, cutting down dozens of English soldiers before being speared from beneath the planks. But even Viking heroism could not stop what came next. Harald Hardrada, towering and fearless, led from the front. In the chaos, an English arrow struck him in the throat, killing him instantly. The last great Viking king fell where he stood. Leaderless and shocked, the Norwegian army collapsed. Out of 300 ships, only about 24 were needed to carry the survivors back to Norway. The defeat of Harald Hardrada was more than a lost battle. It was the end of the Viking Age. For over 250 years, Vikings had terrorized Europe. Stamford Bridge ended their era of large-scale invasions forever. But the story didn't end there. King Harold Godwinson had won, yet his victory came at a deadly cost. His army was exhausted and bloodied. Just 3 weeks later, he would face William of Normandy at the Battle of Hastings. And England's fate would be sealed. Harald Hardrada died believing his conquest was within reach. Harold Godwinson stood victorious but drained. And across the Channel, William's ships were already sailing. Stamford Bridge ended the Viking Age, but it opened the door to a conquest that would reshape England forever. To watch the full video, click the link on our bio, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting hidden historical fact.